Hey y'all, you want to set your child up for success? Is your child struggling with a specific subject or need help with the subject? Is your child ahead, not getting challenged enough in class? Well, IXL Learning is an online learning program that enriches your homeschool curriculum. It offers practice in math, English, language arts, science, and social studies while adapting to each child, meeting them where they are. Plus, IXL encourages students to become curious and empowers them to choose how to learn. Look, we homeschool our son. No doubt about it. He's more of a visual learner, and we use IXL, and Cindy teaches him, and there are so many different benefits to the program. It adapts to exactly what he needs in different areas. So IXL is the perfect supplement to your homeschool curriculum. IXL offers interactive practice problems, educational games, lessons, and video tutorials for every topic you're teaching at home. It's easy to use, time-saving. Everything on IXL is organized by grade, subject, topic, and subtopic, making it simple to find activities for the exact skills you're covering. IXL offers instant feedback and explanations of new topics as kids use the program. Kids can explore any topic in any grade level. They aren't forced into a single learning path like they are on other programs. If you're homeschooling your child because they were falling behind or because they were too far ahead like our son, IXL is a great program to help them get the exact support they need. Kids love IXL's positive feedback awards and educational games. IXL is trusted by 15 million students worldwide and has proven to improve performance in over 75 scientific research studies. Make an impact on your child's learning. Get IXL now. And Real Life Real Crime listeners can get an exclusive 20% off IXL membership when they sign up today at IXL.com/today. Visit IXL.com/today to get the most effective learning program out there at the best price. And don't forget, Real Life Real Crime listeners get 20% off. Y'all, we really do use this product, and it's been a godsend.
It is Ryan Seacrest here. There was a recent social media trend which consisted of flying on a plane with no music, no movies, no entertainment. But a better trend would be going to ChumbaCasino.com. It's like having a mini social casino in your pocket. Chumba Casino has over 100 online casino-style games, all absolutely free. It's the most fun you can have online and on a plane. So grab your free welcome bonus now at ChumbaCasino.com. Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Listen to that. Nothing beats a vinyl. Some technology just stands the test of time. Our technology not only brings the cool, it also brings the heat. At Mitsubishi Electric, we've been mastering and innovating heat pump technology since 1970. EcoDan, continued innovation in heating for home and business. Mitsubishi Electric, changes for the better.
Real Life Real Crime is a true crime podcast brought to you by Woody Overton and executive producer Toby Tomplay.
You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to an attorney prior to and during any questioning. You can't afford one, the court will appoint one for you. You understand your rights?
Your crime spree was over, son. Yeah, you thought you had it licked, but Detective Overton made your sugar turn to shit. Get ready, you're gonna do time. Real life, real crime.
Warning. This episode of Real Life, Real Crime, the podcast, may contain descriptions of acts of violence or that are of a sexual nature, it should be for people that are 18 years or older. Heed my warning, people. I did not get the facts of these cases off of the internet or from some television show. The facts we're retelling you were presented to us by the victims of the crimes or the perpetrators who committed the crimes against the victims. My description of the crime scenes are what I saw with my own two eyes. If you're going to get offended, please turn this podcast off now. Thank you. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of Real Life, Real Crime, the podcast. And as always, I'm your host, Woody Overton. And before we get started, I want to apologize ahead of time if there's any audio issues. I'm on the road today, recording remotely. Toby, Tomplay, executive producer, will naturally make it sound the best that he can make it sound. But we're in a hotel room, y'all, so if you hear any noises or whatever, I apologize ahead of time. Also, I'm unedited and unscripted. So everything you get in today is just going to be raw, and we're going to leave it that way. And today, I'm going to be concluding the series Rapides Burning, and also ending. This will be the last episode of season 5 of Real Life, Real Crime, the podcast. So we appreciate everybody for listening, and just hold on and let's get started. All right, y'all. So today, I'm actually feel like I'm sitting in a lion's den, and I'm in Rapides Parish, and I have a very special guest with me, if you will, Mr. Jermaine Harris. Mr. Jermaine, thank you for being here.
Oh, no problem, man. I'm happy to be here.
All right, y'all. And so, y'all, in case you don't know, and for the lifers who don't know about the Rapides Burning series, it started with us continuing to wait on justice for Courtney Coco. And another Friday came, just like tomorrow will also, and I got another lame excuse, and it was so lame it just really upset me, and I stayed up all night thinking about what I could do. Now, from day one, the first episode on Courtney Coco, when all the lifers started reaching out and giving me information, et cetera, especially people from Rapides, had been sending me tons of information on cases they felt they had been done wrong, or there were still cold case homicides, or political corruption, or police corruption, et cetera. And so what I did, I thought about that night. I said, you know what? This story needs to be told. It needs to be put together and told all at one time so people can get an idea of what's really going on. And so we've done that, or I've done that in the past 3 episodes. Now today, I have Mr. Jermaine Harris with me. Now, y'all, I'm not from Rapides Parish, and I love the people of Rapides Parish. It's not their fault, right? But Mr. Jermaine, I know they don't have any of the powers that be, don't have any love for Woody Overton here, and that's okay. But I don't care. I'm just telling the truth. Everything I've told y'all has been told me by somebody here. When I might have been speeding just a little bit, but when I hit that Rapides Parish line, you better believe that I was going 55. So, but that being said, y'all, Jermaine Harris is. Just let me introduce you to him. Mr. Jermaine, you're from Rapides Parish?
Yeah, born and raised.
Born and raised. And what's it like growing up here?
I enjoy growing up here. I grew up in Alexandria, and I went through school in Alexandria. So, I left home for a while, worked in New Orleans some, but I came back home because I love living in Rapides Parish.
I understand that. There's no place like home, right?
That's right.
Okay, and I get that. So, tell me, so we can segue into it. You grew up here, you go off to college, and then after college you go to law school?
I went to law school.
And where'd you go?
I went to Loyola in New Orleans. When I graduated, I worked some in New Orleans. I worked in a public defender's office for almost a year, and then I moved back here to Alexandria. I started a practice. I did that for maybe a year and a half, and then in the beginning of 2015, I started to work for the district attorney's office.
So who was the district attorney at that time?
And that was Philip Terrell. As a matter of fact, when he was sworn in as DA, I was sworn in later that same day as one of the assistant district attorneys.
Right. I have I can't say every district attorney in the state, but I've had dealings and cases with so many of them. And for most people that don't know, y'all, especially larger DA's offices, the ADAs or assistant district attorneys are really the ones who do the grind every day, right? Who try the cases, who deal with the victims, et cetera. And the DA, especially if it's a larger office, is mainly a public figure. But they do have the final say-so on the cases, or they should.
And that's correct. And I'll tell you, some DA's offices differ. When I was in New Orleans, Canizero, I think he is retiring after this year in New Orleans, but his office was more of a firm grip. I mean, you had to get everything approved by him or someone he appointed, and that was, you had to do that.
Right.
And I think from my experiences here, it's more loose.
Right.
You know, it's more, control. Assistants have more control than they have in, say, New Orleans.
Right. So let's talk about that for a second. And I get that. And I've worked some DA's offices where the DA is the only guy there, and like in East and West Feliciana, right? So maybe one ADA. But I never met a prosecutor, and of course I've had clashes with some over the years, even when I was on the law enforcement side, but now on the defense consulting side, et cetera. But I never met a prosecutor that got into it, first of all, because they wanted to get rich. I mean, you certainly can make more money in a private practice doing whatever, right? Yeah. It's just like a cop or a law enforcement professional. You don't do it really for the money. You do it because you have a passion for it. Why did you want to be? I know the public defenders is a whole different breed, and I've dealt with them my whole career also, but they certainly not doing it for the money, right? And they're helping people the best. Everybody, y'all, has a right to defense. And I totally agree with that. No matter what they've done, they have a right to defense and a proper defense. That's what our country is based off of. But so you came from the public defender's office, and why did you get into the prosecutorial side?
Well, that side to me is, both sides, they do justice in their own ways, but I think working for the DA's office, you do justice, but you have more control. I mean, you have the control to the extent that if you have a really bad case, you really have the power to go in and really prosecute it aggressively and help out a victim's family receive justice. But you also, on the flip side, have the opportunity, if it's a bad case, you can help a defendant in situations where he may be innocent or there may not be enough evidence.
Right.
So you can be fair and balanced on both sides. And you have the power to do it versus as a public defender, you don't have that power.
Right. And then it's like I used to tell the young cops when I train them, if you can't help somebody, don't go out of your way to hurt them, because there's enough legitimate bad guys out there that you're going to have to hurt, right? And it's the same thing, I think, from a DA standpoint, and I get that. And not everybody that commits a crime, obviously people make stupid choices and things like that, but then that's one end of the spectrum. But then you have the other end of the spectrum where you have your serial rapists or murderers or whatever, and to me, and I mean, I have many of them that are going to die in Angola that I put there. And the last person executed in the state of Louisiana, Gerald Bordelon, I knew him personally, who raped and murdered his stepdaughter, according to the law, and left her on the Amite River. But if I had become a lawyer, the only thing I would ever done was be a prosecutor. And my family are full of lawyers, so I get that. And I think that's an honorable deal. So, but in any profession, I think, especially in law enforcement, you start out, when you go in, you have this certain idea of how, things should be, et cetera, but then you get in and you find out what it's really like. And that's okay. In my mind, that's okay as long as it's still right. But sometimes you get into situations, you go places and you find out things are wrong. But can you tell me about your time in the DA's office?
So I went in January 2015. I started working for the DA's office, and initially I took over a caseload there as primarily drugs. And, I started prosecuting those cases, and it was funny because as I started prosecuting them, I sat down at the desk and I asked myself, well, how do I determine what this person's sentence or offer should be? Should I help this person? Should I not help this person? How do I know from reading this report? And so I think at that point I developed a real rapport with law enforcement.
Right.
Because they knew who was who in the community.
Right.
And so the more I talked to them, the more I started to know, okay, this is a major player.
A frequent flyer. Yeah.
And you started learning who the players were in the area, and you started learning, this is the person I need to prosecute aggressively. Or if I don't know his name, maybe this is someone I should help.
Right.
But if I know the name, I know he's involved, and I know that this is someone we should target. And so that started my relationship of really working aggressively with law enforcement outside of just getting a report and going to court.
Right.
I wanted to hear from them to know what was going on.
That's a
Visit the Institute of Art, Design and Technology Dunleary Open Day on Saturday the 19th of November from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. At the IDT Open Day, you can find out about our exciting new degree courses. You will get top tips on preparing your portfolio. IADT Open Day on Saturday the 19th of November. Create your future. For more information, visit iadt.ie.
excellent idea, and it just brings me to flashback, right? So I go into court, maybe a probable cause hearing or a motion to suppress or whatever. The DA would always take me out in the hallway and say, hey, can you tell me about this one? Because they know. Right? I could tell them if it's a frequent flyer or somebody that's been on my radar for a while, or, you know, a lot of times I'd say, hey, look, I don't know them. They were respectful, whatever, you know. So that's actually goes on. And then for you to reach out to cops, props to you on that.
Yeah,
so
that's important because they have the knowledge, and so that was my thing. Sometimes we'd be in court, and it would be sometimes the major players would come in the drug game, and they would get probation, drug court, and then the community at large in that area knows, oh, they gave this guy probation, and just makes the criminal justice system looks bad when everyone in the community knows who a person is,
right?
But the DA didn't know who it was,
right?
You know what I mean? And so it's a disconnect, and so it's important to have the same information that they have.
Right, I agree with that. I agree, and so you started out prosecuting drug cases, and
then at a certain point, I wanted to do more. I wanted to. I was happy with the drugs, but I said, I want to move up and do some murders, some serious crimes, some rapes. And luckily, I was in a situation there where no one was really fighting me, so they were like, "Hey, take some." Mm-hmm. And so I started taking on some serious cases, and and then I reached a certain point where I wanted to do more because I was working so much more with law enforcement,
right,
and working with the task force that we have here. And so when I was in New Orleans, they were doing a lot of racketeering cases,
right.
And so I got with law enforcement here. I say, well, look, they're doing a lot of this in New Orleans. Maybe this can solve some of the issues we're having. And they were on board with it. And so I started working with them within a year, maybe within 6 months of me being in a DA's office. I started working with them. And by my second year, we indicted 14 defendants in a racketeering case.
Under RICO, you're talking about?
That's correct.
Okay, so for y'all that don't know, RICO it's basically the way the prosecutors can bring the additional charge of an ongoing criminal organization. Am I correct?
That's correct.
And it greatly enhances. And they first brought that around by using it on the mob or the mafia, and way back when, I think the 80s or when it was. So that's a big deal. So y'all look it up if you don't know what that is.
And the big thing about it was a lot of people, they're not used to practicing under that, but what helped me with it was it once I learned more about it, it became easier because you only had to show the association with this group. All the defendants didn't need to know each other. You just had to show that they were a part of this group. And so, once we figured that out, it was easy going. And we indicted 14 defendants, 12 of which were convicted, 2 of which weren't because they were serving time in other jurisdictions, and we just allowed them to serve their time there.
Right.
And so, but I want to say within a year and a half or so, it wasn't long, and all 12 were convicted of something.
Right.
And it kind of culminated with, I think, the leader himself that we identified ended up going to trial. And towards the end of the trial, I think he saw the writing on the wall. Now, this was the first racketeering case of this type that I know of in Rapides Parish. And we were a little concerned about the jury. We were like, I don't know if they...
You never know about a jury.
Because we're explaining this to them, but it's hard to know whether or not they're really receiving it. And so at the end, he ended up pleading to 50 years on racketeering and 35 years on attempted murder. And so I think it'll be maybe 29 years before he's parole eligible.
Right.
And this is
awesome.
Defendant who would have been, as a matter of fact, he was serving time when he was indicted. But sometime after we indicted him for racketeering, he was to be released.
Right.
And so then he got this time, so he never got out. And so, and that was a case purely working hard with law enforcement because I couldn't have put that case together if they didn't have the intelligence.
Right.
They had the intelligence. I had the will and, the ability to prosecute it, so we put it together.
Right.
And so it ended up working, and it had a real impact in the community. But after that, I wasn't able to. I wanted to kind of build upon that and do more, but I wasn't able to.
Yeah. And real quick on it, y'all have heard me tell stories about how I used to work dope, and I made my bones in a dope game, okay, and on the street, and I loved it, right? Just like you started out in narcotics until I worked my first homicide, and that's all I cared about, and putting good bad guys away. Even though the dopers are bad, but I'm talking about putting people away who are destroying lives. Even though I know the narcotics dealers are slowly, but I'm talking about people who are raping babies and murdering people and stuff like that. So, but the parallel with you on that, and I used to jokingly say, and I love our ADAs and that try the cases, et cetera, but you used to, and it's true. You say, I build these cases for the district attorney, right? Mm-hmm. But then their forte is taking what I've built and molding it in something, and your job is to get it past the jury. And then you never know what a jury's going to do. And look, it takes a lot of guts and it takes a lot of balls to stand up and do that. And I also always say, in most cases this is true, DAs love, and I'm talking about the political ones, love to say they have a 98.5% conviction rate. Well, you know why that is? Because they plea out a lot of stuff, right? And on those more serious ones, if they think there's a chance they're going to lose it, they won't try it, and especially not in an election year, right?
That's correct.
And so I don't know, but so you and I talked previously, and I just want to ask you about this, and it's going to go back to Courtney Coco for a minute. When you were there in the DA's office, what was your knowledge of Courtney Coco's case?
So I had already, known about the case, just being from the area,
right.
As a matter of fact, I went to Ash for 1 year. I graduated from Peabody, but I was at Ash for a year. So I remembered her from school. So when she passed, I think I saw it on the news, and, you're like, man, I remember her from school.
Right.
And so I've always known about it. And as the years went by, I would see, different things. I would see the family somewhat having trouble getting answers in a case, and I would see that, ongoing. So when I was in the DA's office, I'm one of those people. I said, well, once I get an opportunity to be able to do something, let me see what I can do.
Right.
But initially, I was already looking at cold cases anyway.
Right.
That's my thing. I love, to look at cold cases, because to me, it's one of those things where you can actually go back and piece something together and look at maybe where someone may have missed something and see if you can put it together. Right. So I've always been fascinated by that. So once I was in the position, I said, well, let me see what I can do. So I started looking at a different cold case initially to see, what I can do, go through the file, see if anything was missing and what I could do. And as I was going through that, one of the investigators told me about a connection they thought that may be between that case and Courtney's case.
Was that Tamika?
The Garnett case.
Tamika Garnett, yeah.
And so, but so I said, well, maybe we should look at, both of these cases and see what we could do. Now, with Shamika's case, I think there was no problem as far as, getting materials on that. But when it came to Courtney's case, there was more pushback in regards to that case. I'm not sure why that was the case. But
let me, and I'm going to interrupt you a lot, and I apologize. I have hundreds of thousands of hours of interview interrogation. If I don't say it on the tip of my tongue, I'll forget it. So when you say, and I get that, and I was the same way about cold cases, right? When I remember my first day in Texas, everybody else left. I couldn't wait to stay after and get into the cold case. I can remember a big old gray metal file cabinet and looking at them. But when you're looking at Shamika's case, and now they were good friends. Mm-hmm. And in fact, Courtney's trunk of her car, where her body was obviously placed, she had Shamika's obituary clipped out of the paper, so her body was placed on top of that. I mean, they weren't just acquaintances; they were good friends. I mean, I can't go into too much details, but they were good friends. And so, but when you say
you asked for information on Courtney's case and you were getting pushback. What do you mean by that?
Well, just not really handing over a lot of the information in regards to the case. Now, they eventually did do that, but it wasn't, it was hesitation. It wasn't as quick and swiftly as they would be in other cases. So
you perceived, it was your perception, and you correct me if I'm wrong, when you were asked for that, for some reason you didn't get it as quick, or they weren't, or maybe there was a delay. I hope you go away type of feeling. I don't know. I mean,
yeah, and that's exactly what it was. And I didn't know a lot of the history behind the case. The only thing I knew about the case at the time was it was a cold case that hadn't been solved. So I didn't know anything behind a lot of the, what's been going on between the family and law enforcement. The only thing I really knew at the time was that, it was a cold case and maybe connected to something I'm looking at. So I want to look at that and see, how it might fit, because I don't know if anyone at that time had ever compared cases and looked at information to see if they could find any similarities. So I think that was one of the biggest things I wanted to do. But even once I got to that point to where I was able to get that information, that was when I was on my way out of the office. At that point, I was sort of dissatisfied with the office at that point. So I never got a chance to actually dig into it and look and see what I could find.
Right. But all the other cases that you looked at or you asked for information on, you didn't get the kind of pushback or delay game that you got when you asked about Courtney Coco's file?
No.
Okay. All right. And at what point, I mean, if you don't have to answer if you don't want to, but you got, at some point, it sounds like maybe you got a little fed up or whatever, aggravated. What made you decide to leave the district attorney's office?
Well,
if you want to answer, you don't have to.
Well, the office just really wasn't going in the right direction. I think, the way I am is, I like things to be done a certain way. And it's hard to have things done a certain way when you don't have complete control of the situation. When you're an assistant, what you can do is limited. To give you an example, just the racketeering case I talked about, I really wanted to build upon that, and I was working towards building upon that with law enforcement. But my voice with law enforcement wouldn't hold the same weight as the DA himself taking control. So at a certain point when you're trying to get things done and accomplished as much as you can, but without having the voice of being the guy in charge, it made it a lot harder to get things done. And, and as time went by, I wanted to do more, especially dealing with some of the violent offenders in the parish. I wanted to do a lot more, but it was just hard to get done. And so I think that, for me, if I don't feel like things are going the right way and a direction of the office isn't toward, if you're going to be a DA's office, you should be towards really prosecuting people who need to be off the street and being aggressive about it. I don't think that aggression was there, I'm going to give you an example. I think last year, they may have tried 11 trials last year, which is up because that's a high number for them in a year. They still have tried fewer cases than the last DA did, but in his last term, but it was 11. I think they may have lost 5 of them.
Really?
So
jury trials you're talking about?
Jury trials, so that's 6 and 5.
They have tried 11 trials.
Hey, ladies, are you feeling overwhelmed by hormonal changes? Well, you're definitely not alone. There are more than 1,000 hormone disruptors living in our environment right now. It's in your food, your water, the air you breathe, the clothes you wear, your skincare products. They all mess with your hormones. Then there's the natural hormone changes your body goes through, premenopause, menopause. And while it's a natural process, it doesn't mean you have to suffer through it. The good news is you don't have to suffer through it anymore because now you have Hormone Harmony, a formula made only with herbal ingredients that are shown to reduce hormonal symptoms in women of all ages. Hormone Harmony is not just a hormone support and supplement. It's become a phenomenon. Women can't stop talking about it on social media. A bottle of Hormone Harmony is sold every 24 seconds. And the biggest benefit? Well, my wife says it makes her feel like her own self again. And that's what women mention over and over in the reviews. And there are over 30,000 reviews for Hormone Harmony. And for a limited time, you can get 15% off your entire first order at happymammoth.com. Just use code RLRC at checkout. That's happymammoth.com and use code RLRC for 15% off today. That's happymammoth.com and use code RLRC. Hey y'all, let me tell you about Gobble. All Gobble meal kits are pre-prepped. That means less work for you and less waste in your kitchen. Their meal kits include everything you need so you can save time at the store or just skip that trip entirely. I got the box in and I had 3 different meals. I had a Kung Pao chicken, crispy fish tacos, and a beef bourguignon, however you say it. But let me tell you about the classic beef bourguignon. Look, it came with beef pot roast and a beef broth concentrate, red wine demi-glaze, cremini mushrooms, cipollone onions, mashed potatoes, baby carrots, and rosemary thyme butter. It was so easy to make. Literally like 15 minutes it took Cindy. And let me tell you something, and all the dishes were fire, but this thing was like a taste explosion in my mouth. It's just unreal. We've got to spend more time together and more time doing the things we love because everything came in this one single box right to my door. So see what a difference Gobble will make for your household. Right now, they're offering my listeners a fantastic limited time deal. You get $120 off across 4 boxes plus free shipping and free cookies. And let me tell you, those cookies, I ate one that was sin baked and it was delicious. Go to gobble.com/real life. That's GOBBLE.com/real life for $120 off your first 4 boxes. This offer is not available on the home site, so don't miss out. This is genius. It's taste explosions in your mouth like you never had.
Trials the whole year. And meanwhile, you got these cases, and I've covered, and I'm bad with names, but I covered in Rapides burning where you've got these cases that have been delayed 3 and 4 years. And some of them, the people have reoffended. And so, I mean, that I guess justice isn't swift and certainly not certain, right?
Well, and you don't hear about DA's office losing that many trials in a year either. I mean, you know.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to go to trial either if I was getting my ass beat.
To me, you have to properly screen those cases. You can't,
Sure.
You know, you have to properly screen the cases and know the strengths of your cases before you're taking it to trial. Because I've seen instances where they take a bad case, you'll take a bad case to trial, but then you'll plead out a really strong and good case.
Right.
You know what I mean? The cases that we should be trying, we aren't. So,
Right.
you know, and I think a couple of those losses were like child sex related cases. You have to really be prepared to take those cases to trial.
I don't understand. I guess you and I are the same mindset because I don't understand losing. I don't build junk. I don't come unless I'm coming correct. I never lost a case by a trial ever, or a motion to suppress, or a search warrant return, whatever. But you know why? Because I took my time and I built it correctly. You know,
you're right on that.
And I don't understand that. But losing 5 out of 11 and only trying 11.
You know, and the thing about it is,
you wonder why your killers are still walking around.
That's true, and they're taking it to trial. And you know, losing that many, to me, my position on it is, I'm taking things to trial I can win.
Right.
And I'm going to make sure I have everything in place to win that trial. When I was there, I didn't lose any trials either. I got conviction of all those trials because, you know, I made sure going into those trials, everything was laid out. We had the evidence. I already talked to the officers.
Right.
You know we have a strong case going forward, and we know we have a great opportunity to win. So I don't understand that.
Yeah, I don't either. And then meanwhile, you have people like the Giles girl who murdered Kuti in the Walmart parking lot, and now she's out on bond, and she had 2 of the conditions of her probation were no casinos and bars, and she has a curfew, and she's applying to open a daiquiri place, right? Was that she's supposed to go on to trial this past year, of course, COVID, get that. Now it's, like a year and a half, 2 years away. I don't get that. How can you apply for a liquor license and not apply for a liquor license and put yourself as the manager and owner on the LLC when you have been told specifically by a judge, condition your release is this and this.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, those are some of the things that make the justice system look bad.
It's horrible.
And that's, just like the example I gave about, it'd be a serious, major drug dealer coming in court and gets probation.
Right.
And then everyone in the community is like, wait a second.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
What's going on with the
Right.
criminal justice system?
That's exactly right. And I'm gonna talk about this because it's on my head, on my mind. And you're talking about a close association working with the cops. Now, I know to build a RICO case, y'all, is tough. Okay, but it's so beautiful if it's done correctly. I mean, it's Minesville, it'll be the death penalty of they could have some murder cases in, but RICO is like, or habitual offender. As when you put that on the table, the bad guy goes, but they're so complex, you have to come correct, but you couldn't do it without law enforcement. Now, I want to say this because I know in Courtney's series, I wasn't harder on anybody that didn't screw up, and everything on there is the truth. But I firmly believe that there are way, 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 way more good cops, even in Rapides Parish, in the sheriff's office and APD and the small departments than there are bad. So if I say something negative about a cop, or you hear me or Miss Stephanie having a recording of the detective lying to her on the phone about Courtney's case and stuff like that, I'm not putting down on all cops, y'all. I back the blue. But I can guarantee you all the good cops out there or all the good cops from Rapides Parish are sick of the bad ones making it hard on them too. It's like the George Floyd murderers. I mean, they murdered him straight up. But for every, I'm not saying there's not a problem because they're of racism and stuff, because there is, but for every bad cop out there, there's a million great ones. Yeah.
And that's why when I talk about certain cases, I don't talk about assistant district attorneys, because to me, they work for someone.
Right.
And so, when you work on certain jobs, you work and you serve at the pleasure of the leader or the head of that group or that organization. And so to me, no assistant is at fault for anything. That's just like with cops. Cops, they're not at fault for what a leader or what someone in leadership has done. That's on them.
Right.
And a lot of those people may not like something that goes on, just like in district attorney's offices.
Right.
Maybe assistants don't like what's going on, but they have constraints.
Right.
And that's another reason why I left. I didn't like the constraints of being there too, because if you work in a political office, you have certain things you can't be seen with a certain other public official.
Get it.
You can't do, it's a lot of constraints that you have on you because you work in a political office. You serve at the pleasure of that politician. And so, it does place constraints on you.
Yeah, and I get that. I'm going to tell you, I haven't told the story. I'm not going to tell it on the podcast, the full story. Way back when, I arrested 3 of the richest guys in this area, we'll say this area that I was working. I handcuffed all 3 of them to the bench together. And the next week, they were at a hunting camp with a district attorney. So, and I get that. That's and so what I think what you're saying without saying is you could build it up and you could do good on something, but then for whatever the boss man's reason is, he comes in and puts a nix to it or stops or takes it away or does whatever. And that's y'all, that's your elected official playing politics, and it is I used to say, well, it's above my pay grade. I did my job. I arrested them.
Mm-hmm.
They still got booked in. But on the DA side, what do you do about that?
Yeah.
And let me tell you something. One of the cases, and people tell me all the time, I say Terrell's name wrong. One of the cases I did on Rapides Burning, I can't remember the name. It was a sex offender, got out on a slap of the wrist. And just bad. I can't remember which one it was. You know what Philip Terrell's one-liner is when KALB finally interviews him, and they bring it up because it's a bad deal. And they say, but what about this? And he says, oh, I'll have to get with whoever the ADA was. Now, that's bullshit, man.
Yeah.
There's no way this guy's got 150-something counts of child pornography and rape or whatever it may be, and you're going to let him out with a slap on the wrist. And you say, when the cameras are in your face for the 2 seconds that they are, you say, I'll have to check with my assistant prosecutor and see what happened to that. So either you're such a inept, pardon my French, such an inept, shitty leader that you really didn't know, and you let your prosecutor make this could have been a death penalty case, and you let your prosecutor make that, and you just don't know you're that bad a leader, or you're full of shit, and you made the deal for whatever the reason is, and you're not going to say why. The problem is, it's ongoing here, y'all, and it's Rapides burning. Shit, I'm glad I don't live here, man. But I hurt for the people and all these families that I've talked to, the victims' families, and it's not just murder cases and cold cases. It's these people every day. Jermaine, somebody emails me, and I had 2 yesterday. One of them was a girl that was raped when she was 16. She's now 20, and the DA's office passed it off. She says she's lost her whole family behind it, et cetera. And what can she do? I'm like, it's Rapides burning. I mean, I don't know what to tell you to do. I mean, but it's so much more to it than I've even been able to put out there. But I want the people to know you don't have to put up with it. You got one chance to make a change.
Since I announced running, I've had so many families and so many people reach out to me about cases that I had no idea about. Some people reached out to me about cases that were ongoing while I was in the district attorney's office, and I had no knowledge of those cases.
Right.
And they would tell me, what happened and the things that went wrong in the case and their displeasures, and it's more of a common thing than I even thought it was.
Right.
And it's people from all walks of life, that have had these experiences.
Right.
So it's, it is an ongoing thing here, and we just have to do better, especially in regards to our dealing with some of these victims' families, I think, because from the stories I've heard, and I believe every one of them. Right. You know what I mean?
Well, they don't have a reason to lie to you.
They don't have a reason to lie to me. So it's just sad some of what's been going on here.
Yeah, and y'all, in case I didn't say it, Jermaine Harris is actually stepped up to give you a chance for change in Rapides Parish. He's running against the incumbent Philip Terrell, however the hell you say his name. He's running against him because, and I'm going to tell you that, when you step up, the district attorney has 6-year terms in the state of Louisiana, not 4 years, 6 years. And they're powerful. I mean, and with great power comes great responsibility, and you can choose how you use it. And I do not understand. I didn't know anything about only trying 11 cases last year and losing 5 of them, et cetera. But all I know is what these people like you, these victims and family members that have reached out to me. Hell, they don't have a reason to lie to me. They're not going to get famous for it. They're not going to get any money for it. It's not going to bring their dead loved one back, et cetera. But they're crying out, and that's why I wanted to put it all together. But let me tell you something. My hat's off to you, because you have to live here, and you know what it means. First of all, you know what you're dealing with, who you're running against. You've worked underneath them, and you know what it means. If you don't win, you still have guts enough to stand up there and say, hey, you know what? And I tried to make a change because you believed in it.
Yeah, and I'm gonna tell you, back to the victims real quick. I was telling one, I said, look, a lot of the times, if there's not enough evidence in a case, you don't have enough to go forward. I think that's, if you can sit down and really explain that to that family, and that family trusts you.
Right, that's the big difference.
See, when you have credibility and the families trust you, they can trust your decision.
Right.
But if they don't trust you, they won't trust your decision. And that brings your entire office into dispute to me.
Right.
That's
right. That's right.
Our leaders, if you trust a leader and you trust it and they have credibility, you'll believe them if they come to you and say, ma'am, there's not enough evidence to move forward.
Right.
You may not like it,
right.
but
That's
you can
right. You have
accept
to
it because
understand.
you trust them.
You may not like it, but you have to understand it. But if that same person comes to you, or in the case of Courtney Coco, told Miss Stephanie in front of our whole family, brought him in with the chief of police and the sheriff, et cetera, and told him, yep, we know the killer is this person. We know exactly what happened. I'm going to prosecute it. I'm going to take it to the grand jury. Give me 2 weeks. That was last November, first week of November. February, we peacefully protested outside the courthouse in the freezing cold, and he still hasn't returned our phone call.
See,
and then when interviewed by KLB, or he issues a statement to KLB, it says, I don't have, I'll take credit. The lifers, my fans got pissed off, and they were blowing up the DA's line and APD's line, and every one of them, they called it and they were recording it. And every time they'd answer, the DA's office would say, we don't have that case filed. We have no knowledge of Courtney Coco's case. Now, how fucking insulting is that to the family?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I had to back off and ask the fans to lay off, et cetera. But Philip knew we were out there. All he had to do, if you're not hiding something or you know you're not wrong, why not come down there and say, hey, we're still going to fight for justice for Courtney, or say something to the mama. You know, that's the trust thing you're talking about.
Yeah.
If he had came down those stairs and said, you know what, hey, I hear what y'all are saying, and we're doing the job, that would have gone, but then I liked it.
Yep.
But damn it, it would have gone a long ways, and we wouldn't be sitting here almost a year to the date, and afterwards. So,
yeah, but you have to be aggressive in putting those cases together. And I don't, to me, I don't know if it's a focus over there. For me, that's one of the things I would want to do, is to be aggressive with these cold cases. But if you're having trouble with the cases that are currently ongoing over there right now, I don't know
how do you get into the colds. And I get that. And I'm gonna tell you something, Jermaine. I was out of headquarters in Baton Rouge when I was with the state police, and I worked all over the state in different parishes, and I am not lying. I'm not, just because I'm personally involved in Courtney Coco's case, I am not lying. This is the worst I've ever seen. Now listen, when I was with the state police, I had, and I've said this before, and somebody wants me to tell a story, I'm not going to, but I had dealings with the Rapides Parish Sheriff's Office when I was with the state police. They damn well know who I am. And when I was a criminal investigator with the state police, so they know who I am. Their detectives know who I am. In the like they don't have any love for me, that's fine. I don't care. Do your job. It's somebody that needs to step up, and Philip Terrell, he's been given every chance in the world. And to sit there and tell that family to their face, give me 2 weeks, I'm taking it to the grand jury. And then it's still, I don't know, it's almost, it'll be almost a year. It'll be a year in the first week of November.
That's true.
And since he's talked to her. And that's shameful. I know, I hope the people would give you the shot. Y'all, it's a presidential election year. You're probably going to the poll to vote anyway. If you want to do change, I think what happens, Jermaine, I've seen this a lot over the years in these elections, is people think that it's the good old boy system just the way it's always going to be. That they can't fight, that their voice doesn't count, et cetera. But that's not true. This is your chance. If they vote for you, if they want change in the district attorney's office, then they need to vote for change.
And I'm going to tell you, when I first was talking about running, the biggest thing people told me was, you don't have the money to run. Mm-hmm. That's the biggest thing I heard, is the money.
Right.
Your opponent's going to have $300,000.
Right.
You're not going to have $300,000, and I'm not going to come close to $100,000.
Right.
But I think the biggest thing I saw in deciding to run is that people really want to change, and people weren't satisfied. And I think when you've seen upsets happen in different places across the country,
right,
it's always a movement. It's always a feeling among people that things aren't going the right way. And so I think right here, right now, there's so many people fed up with the direction that we're going in. And so I think that, for me, money can't vote. There's only people that can vote. And so I'm concerned with, my issue is getting what's going on over the last 6 years to the people and letting them decide.
Right.
Some people may refer to something, you brought up a case that may be dirty. I'm not going to get into anyone's personal life or anything like that. But if it's a case that happened in court, we got court minutes, and it's
right.
factual and it happened, I don't see how it's dirt by breaking it up.
It's a matter of public record.
It's a matter of public record. Anyone could go in and get a copy of the minutes and see what happened. So I'll never get into anyone's personal life or anything like that, but I'm going to show cases and show what happened. And the voters the voters are the jury. I'm going to put the evidence to the jury, and I'm going to let them decide what happened.
Right. But let me ask you this, because as if I was a voter in Rapides Parish, I would want to know, first of all, you already said one of them. How do you restore trust in the district attorney's office, or faith from the people in the DA's office? I guess one day at a time, one case at a time.
Yeah, definitely. And to me, having the right people in place and start building it piece by piece. When certain cases come in, when they see it's no favoritism going on, when they see certain friends and relatives of certain people in power having to come to court and answer for it, just like their son or daughter would have to do. When they see those things happen, then they know, wait a second, we got to change in Rapides Parish. This person's son is sitting in court waiting for 5 hours like everyone else is.
Justice spread evenly for everybody, no matter what your race, your economics, or your ties to the political connections.
We're in a place now where someone may get arrested and the public will already know nothing will happen.
Yeah.
And they'll be right. Nothing does happen. Yeah. So I think once that starts to change and they see people being treated fairly, whether you're a CEO or, no matter who you are, when they see you treated the same as everyone else.
And so my daddy always taught me, treat the janitor just like you do the CEO. But
exactly.
In the DA's office, that carries a special weight, right?
That's true.
So that's your pledge to the people, that you'll be fair and justice.
100%. And for me, I'm not in the good old boy system. I never applied for it, and I've never been inducted into it. So so they don't have to worry about that.
If you go in and you do an honest job, you never will be.
I never will be.
And let me ask you about just a couple more things that have been popping in my head. What do you? Let's get narcotics out of the way first. And narcotics will always be there and always be a problem. But what will you do about narcotics?
Well, for me, the biggest thing is I work so much with the FBI task force that I want to do one as far as state crimes, but I don't want to do these, by bust and things like that. I want to actually build up cases where we're actually targeting mid-level dealers. The feds do that well in this area, but it shouldn't just be on the feds. I think, we shouldn't just give that wholly to the feds. I think that the DA's office should be at the lead. They shouldn't be following the U.S. Attorney's office. They should be setting the standard, and they should be the ones out there really hitting the pavement and not just worrying about the street dealers,
right,
but building it up and having strong quality investigations that actually get suppliers off the street and not just the nickel and dimes.
Excellent. Hit them where it hurts, the suppliers and the money chain, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So now what's more near and dear to my heart, what about child sex victims? What about rape victims? People that are victims of sexual crimes, human trafficking, child pornography, things like that.
The biggest thing I think we need to do, and I want a division. Now they somewhat changed now in the DA's office where I think they have sections, but I always like people specializing in something, and that way you have the best in that field. So I want people who are dedicated to doing those types of cases, sex crime type of cases. And so they get the right training. They get to partner with the sex crime detectives in each law enforcement agency. They know them by name. They work together well. They work with the Children's Advocacy Center, and they are a team. And I think that when it comes to those cases, you have to build them up early, especially, and you have to have people who are qualified to deal with those child cases. But you build them up and you screen them properly. And if you have strong enough evidence to go forward, then that needs to move forward to a trial. I don't believe in the child sex cases that you should be all this plea bargaining and all that. And I think if you got a strong case, if you done your legwork in the beginning and went over all the facts and you have enough to go forward, then you have to take that case to trial. So that's my opinion on that when it comes to those types of cases. But I want specialization when it comes to those cases.
Right, and I think that's important. And the plea bargain and all of that, that's bullshit. And I understand not wanting to put some of the victims, especially young victims, through being on the stand, after they've done CACs or Child Advocacy Center interviews and stuff like that. I get it, taking maybe a plea, but it's got to be a hard plea.
Yeah.
And I'm talking, if they get out, they go on to offend sex. It's 99% mental. And I've had Catholic priests in his 80s that had done a bunch of altar boys over the years, and he was still, when I got him, was still doing it mentally, right? And crossing those barriers, even though he couldn't do it on the physical side anymore. So I believe they're not going to stop, and damn it, that's why we build prisons.
That's right. I don't think it is anyone in the parish. I think that's one of those crimes that crosses over any economic background, any race, anything, is that no one wants a child predator on the street.
Exactly.
I have 2 daughters. I'm standing by the bathroom when they go in the bathroom.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? I just, society the way it is, it makes you hard to trust anyone.
I know.
And so
you
just, when it comes to your children,
yeah,
I don't like taking chances.
Yeah. Well, so you pledged to.
We're going to be aggressive with those child sex cases. That I don't, I think lately you've seen some pleas that are, they have people scratching their heads, which is why I said you screen the case properly. If you don't have enough evidence, then you don't have enough evidence.
And I get that. And I don't, you don't want to build junk. You also don't want to let them get away. But
if you charge
when you let people go you had enough in the beginning to have them a $2 million bond, and they have 100 and something counts, and then you plead them down to 1 count of attempted whatever and give them probation, that's bullshit.
See, and that's what I mentioned about making the criminal justice system look weak, because if you are arrested for child sex crimes and the DA's office gets it, they indict you. You go to court, and it stays in court for a couple of years. That's and then ridiculous. You give them a year probation. People in the community, they're going to say, well, wait a second, they were charged with incest, and now they have 1 year probation. It's a disconnect. Right. If you don't have it in the beginning, to me, you deal with it in the beginning. Right. But if you charge them, you're saying it's enough as a DA's office. Right. So, you're signing your name on it saying there's enough to go forward.
Right.
And then if you turn around and give them a deal like that, everyone in the justice system is scratching their heads.
That's exactly right. And then real quick before we get on to the big one, tell me, and you talked about it earlier, this is very important to me. Tell me what you would do. And now I'm going to back up for a second.
Hey, y'all, let me tell you about Mochi. Mochi is a telehealth platform that connects patients seeking medication-based weight loss treatment with board-certified doctors and dietitians to help them determine the best treatment options to accomplish that goal. Mochi's program is completely virtual, meaning you can access their services anywhere in the United States, and you will be meeting with their team online. You deserve doctors that listen. Mochi is dedicated to providing holistic, patient-centered care that prioritizes overall well-being with the goal of transforming how weight management is approached. Mochi Health takes a holistic approach to weight loss that includes visit with board-certified doctors, nutrition consultations, and medications delivered to your door. Science-backed medications including GLP-1s like Ozempic and generic compound versions, affordable and accessible regardless of insurance coverage. With Mochi, their dietitians work hand in hand with your medication to create personalized nutrition plans that fit your lifestyle. Reach your weight loss goals with science-backed, FDA-approved GLP-1 medications and support from real doctors and guidance from registered dietitians, and help with making easy and sustainable changes to achieve results. Y'all have seen this. My wife has done it. My brother-in-law has done it. One of my best friends is doing it, and it really is an amazing process that works. So get started at joinmochi.com and use code RLRC to receive $40 off. That's joinmochi.com and use code RLRC to receive $40 off and let Mochi help change your life. Spark something uncommon this holiday with just the right gift from Uncommon Goods. The busy holiday season is here, and Uncommon Goods makes it less stressful with incredible hand-picked gifts for everyone on your list, all in one spot. Gifts to spark joy, wonder, delight, and that's exactly what I wanted feeling. Hey, y'all, I ordered a super cool piece. It's a candle with a sculpture of LSU's Tiger Stadium on top of it. And each officially licensed laser cut wooden replica features up to 4 layers of detail, creating a bird's eye view of a specific football field, seating section, and more. And every label includes your stadium's name, the team's logo, and school location. And it has a coconut, soy, vegan wax infused with sandalwood smell that creates tailgates and touchdown scent profile, reminiscent of game day. It's invigorating like fresh cut grass and nostalgic like smoke from a pre-game grill, and calming like the crisp autumn air of a new semester on campus. Y'all, I love it. I have it at the base of my TV, and I'm ready to watch the Tigers play on Saturday night, right? Uncommon Goods. Look, when you shop at Uncommon Goods, you're supporting artists and small independent businesses. And many of their handcrafted products are made in small batches. So shop now before they sell out this holiday season. Uncommon Goods looks for products that are high quality, unique, and often handmade or made in the U.S. They have the most meaningful, out of the ordinary gifts anywhere. They even have gifts you can personalize. From holiday hosts and hostess gifts to the coolest finds for kids, to hits for everyone from the book lovers to diehard sports fans. Uncommon Goods has something for everyone, not the same old selections you can just find anywhere. And with every purchase you make at Uncommon Goods, they give $1 to a nonprofit partner of your choice. They've donated more than $3 million to date. So to get 15% off your next gift, go to uncommongoods.com/RLRC. That's uncommongoods.com/RLRC for 15% off. Don't miss out on this limited time offer. Uncommon Goods, we're all out of the ordinary.
I know that the DA stood in a room full of people when certain law enforcement officials were present and said to the family members, we haven't always got along or worked the best with these people. And talking about some of your local law enforcement, he said, we're going to work together on this case. That's bullshit, man. I mean, the DA wouldn't have a job without the cops doing theirs and vice versa. But how would you, and then you know what, there's going to be cops listening to this too. Mm-hmm. What do you say to them? What will you do to strengthen relationships and cases or whatever?
I'll tell you, that's one of the things I saw that was coming when I worked in the DA's office. The officers on the ground working hard to build cases.
That's sad.
They're working hard, spending time with their family, their loved ones.
I know it.
To put cases together, and they put so much time and effort into those cases, and then those cases end up at the DA's office. And so when they sit back and find out, cases are getting dismissed or getting pled down a little or nothing, and they put all of that work and effort into the case,
right?
That causes some of them, they're still going to do their job, but it makes you sit back and wonder, what am I doing this for?
It taints them. And,
it does.
And here's the bad thing, when I sat in on all these baby rape interviews, I shouldn't call it that, CAC, Child Advocacy Center interviews, that's the official term, and I'm watching through the monitors and listen to these babies say these horrible things that happen to them. You have to tell you something. You damn well better prosecute it. And on ones like that, I wouldn't even wait to the grand jury. I'd go get on the warrant right then, having the PC have heard the kids say it, and then I will go to the grand jury later on and defend it, or I will take the stand in probable cause. But yeah, it makes it bad. Yeah. And for morale, and then you talk about trust. The people who really need to trust each other, it's like a football team. The DA is the coach. The players are the cops, right? The DAs and ADAs are the coaches and assistant coaches, and the players are the cops. If your players don't trust you, they're not going to perform. I mean, I'm not going to say they're going to turn a blind eye, but they damn sure or become tainted, so that I think that's important. The DAs and the cops working together is everything. That's how you win.
You have to work together. And see, a lot of the times, I think the problem comes in when sometimes the DA's office wants to do something, for other reasons outside of just whether there's enough evidence. Right. So the cop will be sitting there saying, man, I have a strong case. and then when they see it fall by the wayside at the DA's office, they're thinking, wait a second, how can I build a stronger case than what I built? You know what I mean? But it's not about strength of the evidence. It's other reasons that have come into play as to why that happened. And so that causes, and I've dealt with them a lot over there, and a lot of them express that.
Yeah, and that's true. And they're not going to say it to the DA's face. But let me tell you something, Jermaine, and I do personally, obviously everybody in the world knows I'd vote for you if I was here. In my past career, some of the best DAs that I've worked with they would put on training like 4 times a year, like a supper, and bring them in to talk about whatever the hot topic issue is, or have a class on better report writing for uniformed guys, or, you know what I'm saying? So even jointly working like that, if you're getting some cases as a DA, you're just saying the cops messed it up, well, you know what? Let them know. And train up on it so it won't happen again, or let their supervisors know so they can train up on it, right?
And that comes from trust, and that works with police in the DA's office. When the police trust and have faith in what they would do in that office, then they will respect when they make a decision on a case. So my relationship when I was dealing with law enforcement in the DA's office, if I had to dismiss a case, that officer, I would talk, they would respect this. Okay,
Absolutely.
well, if Jermaine did it, then I respect that.
Right.
But if they don't trust the person or trust, then they may say, I don't believe it happened for the right reason.
Right.
It's about trust.
Right. And let me clarify, when I say I never lost a case, I mean I never lost one. I'm not saying one was never dismissed or anything. But again, if it was, I understood why it was.
Yeah.
Right. So that's a big difference than taking it to trial and losing 5 out of 11 trials.
Exactly.
The big one in the coup de grace is murder, all right? And y'all are homicides. And homicide in the state of Louisiana, I'm sure as everywhere else, is defined as an illegal taking of a human's life by another human, right?
Yeah.
What are your stance on homicides? Tell the people, because I think it's important, because they know what they have now, okay? And tell them, I'll just shut up. You say what you got to say.
My experience dealing with murder cases is that you win them on the front end. You don't win them on, 2 years later, a year later down the road when you're trying it, you win it on the front end. And so to me, my experience dealing with murders, you have to have someone active as early in the process as possible. I would want an ADA at the scene of every homicide, because I want someone there who would be there to not take over the investigation.
Exactly.
But to sit back, be there to advise, and help start shaping that case from the beginning, And so, I've noticed, sometimes, violent people are violent. And so people are reluctant to testify sometimes.
Absolutely.
Usually in that very early period after a homicide, people are willing to talk early until intimidation starts. To me, you have to get those people early. And my thing would be to try to get those people in grand juries as early as possible, so you can go ahead and secure that testimony and lock it in under oath.
Right.
Because if you don't do that, sometimes they may run on you.
That's right.
And so to me, I want to get that done very early, build those cases early, working with law enforcement. And I want to try them within a year of indictment. To me, once you start going past a year, you have witnesses moving, you have to hunt down evidence. To me, you get your evidence together as early as possible. Get everything, reports, as soon as you can get them. Sometimes there are delays with the labs. Get the reports to the defense attorneys as soon as possible and give them all their discovery. I'm not going to fight you. Here's everything we have, and we're going to go to trial.
Yeah.
We're not going to be in court, 6 and 7 continuances.
And not to cut you off, but that is the damn problem, and that's part of the problem. Even the defense attorney, you can't blame the defense attorney for delaying, and both sides are going to get a reasonable amount of delays, or this hasn't been produced, et cetera. But the longer it goes, the better it is for the bad guy, right?
Exactly.
People are going to die. They're going to run. They're going to get scared, like you said. And if their testimony's not locked in, the feelings change and things change. And in the end, they play them out as bullshit. And I don't get it. And let me ask you one more, because this really, really, really bothers me. And y'all, I apologize because I forget the name, but they had a homicide in Rapides, and I'm not putting you in a spot. I just want to ask, would you just stick with me for a second? Mm-hmm. They had a homicide, 2 gay lovers. Obviously, one of them murdered the other one. He hid his lover's body in a box in the residence for approximately a year before it was found. Now, this victim is what you call it a high-risk lifestyle, whatever. The victim had no family members here, had nobody to speak for him.
Yeah. And
they drug it out, and when it comes to the trial date, at the last second, they plead him down. They give him 3 years probation. So, but I want to ask you, because ultimately the district attorney is the one who speaks for the victims.
Yeah.
And I think they failed this guy miserably on this case. And if the guy that did the killing, it was self-defense, and why'd you hide the body for a year?
Yeah.
But on the court date, when it comes to show up and there's no family to give victim impact statements or anything like that, and they changed the plea down to something ridiculous, give them 3 years probation. What do you pledge to do differently for the victims of violent crimes, especially homicides, especially if they are poor or they're not politically connected? And I'm telling you something. You can connect the dots in these cases that I talked about. If there's such a thing as socioeconomic racism, it's going down.
Yeah.
None of the cases I talked about were judges' kids or politicians' kids or family members or whatever. They just didn't come up.
Yeah.
Every single one of them are good, hard-working people. Some of them may have been in a high-risk lifestyle, but guess what? That doesn't give you a reason to you never have a reason to murder somebody. I don't give a shit if they're out there doing all the dope in the world and another dope kills. There's no excuse for murder. I'm not talking about self-defense. I'm talking about cold-blooded murder.
Yeah.
But it's like the DA only has to worry about once every 6 years answering for his mess ups, right? And the pattern I see in this is these people, these good, salt of the earth people, don't get justice. A lot of them are told, yeah, we're working the case, or just like Miss Stephanie's in November, yeah, we're going to prosecute it. I'm going to take it to the grand jury. Hell, it's going on a year later, and he hadn't even given her a phone call back. What would you do if you have victims that aren't, I hate to say intelligent enough, they don't have enough knowledge to represent themselves or fight for the family, the deceased murder loved ones, or they don't have the means, or what would you do for them? Tell me how you can make a change in Rapides Parish, man. I'm pissed off about that. I spent my life doing this, and I've never seen anything like it. I just get fired up.
And for me, as a district attorney, you really you show who you are when you see how you deal with someone who has no one to speak for them. I think one of the things is, sometimes you deal with victims who come from, different lifestyles and different backgrounds and things of that nature, but and they don't have family to come in and fight for them for various reasons. And some of them don't have the capacity to talk for themselves, And so I think the biggest thing is you have to fight for that person just as hard or harder than you would fight for anyone else. And I think that, regardless of who they are, where they come from, you have to fight for them, just like if that judge's child was involved in some trouble. You have to fight, or was a victim of crime.
Or your own child, or one of your own relatives'
or my own child, or
right.
or one of my relatives' children. And you have to treat all those people the same. And I think, that's the problem. I think a lot of people from what I've talked to, they feel that is taking place, that their voice wasn't heard. A lot of the victims that I've talked to said, listen, I went up there and told them, I explained this to them. They didn't listen to me. My voice wasn't heard. And to me, it all still comes back down to trust. Now everyone won't trust their leaders. That's, there's no leader that's going to be 100% trusted.
A person in a position of authority is always going to have somebody pissed off at them if they're doing their job correctly.
Exactly. And I understand being DA, sometimes you're going to make friends, sometimes you'll make enemies. But I think that you have to know within yourself that you're doing the right thing and that you're fighting for people who really can't fight for themselves. And that's really your job as a DA, is to get justice for people, especially people who can't get it for themselves. So I think that my biggest thing is I'm prosecuting regardless of who they are, where they come from, who the victim was, who has money, who doesn't have money, where they come from, who donated to whose campaign. All those things are immaterial. And for me, I'm a person that's really in a position to do that because I'm really not, look, when I said I was running for DA, I'm not having a lot of people take pictures with me because it's a dicey game.
Absolutely.
It's a dicey game in politics. So they know, okay, well, if Mr. Harris wins, okay, that's one thing, but we don't know. Mm-hmm. Most people don't run against incumbent DAs.
That's right.
So we don't know. We like you, Mr. Harris. We'll vote for you, but we don't know if you're going to. So
you're not going to put that sign in my yard because
I don't want to get attention to myself.
Exactly
I don't want anybody to come and say anything to me. And so, so it's a lot of that. So when I win, I don't have a lot of, put it like this, there's no favors going on.
Exactly.
I don't have to worry about that.
Right.
I can actually go in and do what I want to do without having anyone holding anything over me. I don't have that.
Yeah, you can go in and do the right thing. And it just came to me, the name of my boat is Lady Justice. And Lady Justice, she's holding the scales of justice, the statue. You know this, of course, but the one thing about Lady Justice is she's blindfolded.
Yeah.
Justice should be blind, right? It doesn't matter what race, economic background, who you know, whatever. Justice should be even for everybody. Blind meaning dealt out fairly and just.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, that's awesome. So one more time, and then we'll close it out. And I'm gonna shut up. Tell me why you are standing up to run against Philip Terrell.
Listen, from working in the office and being in court every court day for 3 years, I've seen what's going on in the parish, and I've seen people who have committed certain crimes, violent crimes, sexual crimes, basically get off their sentences and are able to go back in the community with little to no consequences. I've seen people who have money and people who have the right connections get certain deals, get favoritism, while everyone else is just left to the discretion of whoever's prosecuting them, and I've seen those things happen. And to me, I feel like the way I am, I want to see people treated fairly. And that's why I made there was one instance where, there was a guy that came into court and he said, oh, well, listen, I spoke with, someone over there at the DA's office and they promised me, I can get, some help. And so I said, well, let me go talk to, so I went talk to the DA's office, talk to them. Well, do whatever you want to do on the case. I said, man, just do whatever. But then, with certain people, it's not do whatever you want to do on a case. It's wait a second, we need to resolve it this way. And that happens too frequently.
I think doing the whatever means that they don't care because they don't owe anybody one way or another. And on the flip side, you're saying on certain cases they're like, no, we got to handle this like this, but from reasons unbeknownst to you.
Exactly. So there are special cases and there are everybody else cases. I don't think there should be everybody else cases and special cases. I think we should treat all those cases the same. And so, and I'm running because someone had to make a stand. I looked around the parish and I've seen a lot of people that are upset with what's going on, but no one wanted to run because they didn't have enough money. They were afraid of being attacked and, afraid of the political, how things go in politics. So there's a lot of people who are angry and won't change, but they were afraid to step up to the plate. Me, the way I felt about it, I'm like, I'm young. I don't have too many ties to people in power, so that that I'm not afraid of anything like that. So I said, well, I'm going to get in there and I'm gonna fight it aggressively. I'm going to get in there. I'm not going to run afraid or run scared. If you run scared, you'll definitely lose.
Right.
And so I said, I'm going to run. I'm going to be aggressive. And if it's some cases that I think, were handled poorly, then I'm going to shed light on them regardless of what happens. I'm going to run at 100%, and I'll let the chips fall when they fall.
Right. So you're saying if you get in and you're able to review cases and you think that there's something shady that was done on those cases, you're going to make it publicly known?
100%. 100%. I think, we have to look at those things. And, I wouldn't mind looking at PTI and seeing how that was run and what was done with some of those things. When I'm elected, it's a full review, and we're going to look at what was done, what wasn't done. When it comes to some of these cold cases, I'm so interested enough in cold cases, I'll look at them personally. Like I'll put a little group together, but I will be personally involved in cold cases, because to me, that's just a passion I want to do on my own anyway. Right. And so, that's definitely one thing I would plan to do is personally look at those cases. And if we have enough evidence, we're going forward,
There you go. And people Rapides, you got a chance. What's the election date? November what?
November 3rd.
November 3rd. Where you at, Rapides? Jermaine Harris. If you go back and listen to Rapides Burning, the other 3 episodes, and the travesty, and you listen to those cases, you got a man here saying he's going to do it honest and fair. He doesn't owe anyone. I wish I lived in Rapides. You'd have my vote. You know that. So y'all, you've heard the cases, you've heard the stories. I have so many more. Rapides, full of great people, but there's a problem here, and this is your chance for change. November 3rd, right?
That's
Jermaine Harris for District Attorney, Rapides Parish. And you got anything else, Jermaine?
That's it. Look, my vision is just to make sure everyone, number one, our community is safer, especially with violent crimes, these sex offenders, violent drug offenders, make sure we're safe, and to make sure everything runs fair. I want everyone treated fair, regardless of who they are, where they come from, their background, any of those things. And those things are not just a campaign promise like some people make them, because I'm not a politician. I'm 34. I've never run for office before. So it's not a campaign promise. I'm not that slick yet, and pray that I never be, But I think that my thing is treating everyone fairly and making us safer. And I think once we do that, I think that will open up a lot of doors for Rapides Parish, especially if we can handle this crime. I think we'll open a lot of doors to help a lot of people, but we have to do the groundwork to get there.
Amen. Good deal. All right, y'all, you heard it. Jermaine Harris. And actually, Jermaine and I are going to be talking tomorrow night because I'm so bad with names. You have it on tomorrow on September the 20, I think it's 25th every year, there's a National Remembrance Day.
That's right. That's the National Day of Remembrance for all murder victims. It's a candlelight vigil, and that'd be tomorrow.
Right.
That'd be 7 o'clock.
Right.
The 25th.
Tomorrow night, and this is why I'm delaying this broadcast until Saturday, but I want y'all to know Miss Stephanie, Courtney's mama, has asked Jermaine to speak, and then I'm going to speak after Jermaine at the vigil on the courthouse steps. And so he's putting his money where his mouth is, as am I, and I really hope you get it, brother, and then make a change. So
I appreciate it.
And so, y'all, we're going to conclude this episode. I know it's different than all the rest of them. And also, this will be the conclusion of season 5. You'll get this, Patreon members, you'll be getting this Saturday morning. Everybody else, all lifers, you'll get it on Sunday. I appreciate y'all. Thank you for, we're growing by leaps and bounds. I think 26,000 members now on just the one crew page. But y'all give us, we have, forget all the Facebook pages. We have so many different ones, right? But you know what they are. And this is the point where I'm supposed to say all that podcast or stuff that I don't really know. But follow me on Instagram at Real Life Real Crime or at Overton Woody. And the last thing I want to say, let me give a shout out real quick to bomb deals and promo codes. The ladies, I think they're up to like 175,000 members, y'all, and they've been a huge supporter of RLRC since we started. Y'all go check out their website, and no, I'm not getting a commission or anything, and I wish I was, because my wife spends all the money on there. But that's the way where they get the promo codes for Amazon on things that are already marked down on Amazon, and they get these secret codes for it, and you can get it in some things for almost free, but you can get some items for free. But you ladies know that I love y'all. Thank you for giving me a shout out last week on your page. I appreciate that. And last but not least, LOPA, Louisiana Organ Procurement Agency. Give the gift of life. Go to lopa.org. Check the box. It takes like a minute, y'all, and be an organ donor. And like I say, not everybody, when you die, they don't automatically harvest your, or whatever they call it, take your organs. It's only a select few that it happens, circumstances. But I'm going to be bringing you an episode next time that is going to, I guarantee it, make you cry. But go to lopa.org, sign up to be an organ donor, give the gift of life, give the gift of sight. There's people out there that are dying right now or living on machines, and you've heard me talk about it in the past. But when you go there, they have a box saying how you heard about them. I always say, check the LTC, Livingston. It stands for Livingston Parish Literacy and Technology Center, Criminal Justice Students First, because that's who got me turned on to LOPA. And then now they've added Real Life, Real Crime. If you want to, you can check us. But check those students first. They're working hard to get organ donors. It's important, y'all. Give the gift of life. And I'm Woody Overton, your host of Real Life, Real Crime, the podcast. And until next time or ever, don't let me catch you down on Murder Bayou. Peace.
Get ready, you're gonna do time. Real life, real crime.
Real Life, Real Crime is a true crime podcast brought to you by Woody Overton and executive producer Toby Tomplay.
How to have fun, anytime, anywhere. Step 1. Go to ChumbaCasino.com.
ChumbaCasino.com. Got it.
Step 2. Collect your welcome bonus.
Come to Papa welcome bonus.
Step 3. Play hundreds of casino-style games for free.
That's a lot of games. All for free?
Step 4. Unleash your excitement.
Woohoo!
Chumba Casino has been delivering thrills for over a decade. So claim your free welcome bonus now and live the Chumba life. Visit ChumbaCasino.com. VGW Group. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.